The 2017 San Marcos Rattlers proved that buying into a culture that prioritizes character over winning can actually bring the latter of that as well. After having a young team in 2016, this season's Rattlers proved to put San Marcos officially on the map. In the end, the Rattlers finished with a record of 10-2 and winning the first district championship in over 14 years. San Marcos set the tone for the season after a dominating victory over East Central. The Rattlers shut out East Central 28-0 in front of a home crowd at San Marcos Toyota Rattlers Stadium. San Marcos showed what was to come in the exciting season as senior Prudencio Calderon started his first game at quarterback with a quick drive down the field for the first score of the game. What has now become a staple for the Rattlers, the defense stuffed the Hornets' offense, stopping East Central on multiple third and fourth down opportunities. The defense was led by seniors DeMarcus Hall, Tristan Williams, J.W. Reeder, and junior Tashambre Brown. The Rattlers went into the locker room at halftime with a 7-0 lead. In the second half, San Marcos won the turnover battle. The Rattlers defense ended the game with 4 turnovers. Junior defensive backs Javier Gonzalez, Scooter Brown, and Theron Soto recorded an interception each. While senior linebacker Nicholas Ridings-Cook had a forced fumble recovery. With those takeaways, it allowed the offensive line to give Calderon and junior running back Jamon Johnson running lanes to put up 28 points for the night. Calderon finished the night with 155 yards and 3 touchdowns on 18 carries, while Johnson had ran for 39 yards and a touchdown. Getting the first win of the season was big for the Rattlers, but an even bigger challenge awaited them the following week as they began a 3-game road slate. The Rattlers made their first trip to New Braunfels as they took on Canyon. Rudy Calderon and Jamon Johnson led the Rattlers to a 27-0 first half lead. The offensive unit did its part by eliminating any momentum that could have favored Canyon and its home crowd. The defense, on the other hand, once again showed up and executed its job as San Marcos didn't allow the Cougars to score in the first half despite having its back against the wall a few times early. The defense continued its stingy ways as they finished the night with 2 takeaways, including 1 interception resulting in a pick 6. The Rattlers proved they can consistently make plays down the field, and with an offense that averaged over 40 points last season, the team looked promising once again. The defense proved its performance versus East Central was no fluke either, as the Rattlers won 39-20. The Rattlers suffered their first defeat of the season after letting the game against New Braunfels get away from them. A final score of 54-42 dropped San Marcos' record to 2-1. The first half opened up as a shootout as both offenses moved the ball with ease. New Braunfels opened up the game with a 74-yard kickoff return and got on the board 4 plays later. The Rattler offense responded with a 7-play drive that ended with quarterback Rudy Calderon scoring from 3 yards out. A 46-yard rush by Jamon Johnson early in the game got the Rattlers confident that they could move the ball with ease. The offense took advantage of those opportunities by putting up 5 touchdowns on the board in just the first half. San Marcos went into the half with a 35-24 lead and received the ball to begin the third quarter. But the roles flipped in the second half as the Unicorns' offense came alive and scored 20 unanswered points. Troubles for San Marcos started when Calderon's attempted pass got tipped and found a New Braunfels defender on the opening drive of the third quarter. A quick drive brought the Unicorns within 4 as the momentum started to build. And recovery by the Unicorns in the next drive put the San Marcos defense against the wall. And New Braunfels went on to take the lead after senior quarterback Ryan Redding handed off the ball to junior running back Pael Thomas for a 20-yard rush. Despite falling behind, San Marcos was still in a position to win the game, as Calderon connected with senior wide receiver Elijah Akins downfield with 3 minutes remaining in the game, bringing the Rattlers within 6 at 48-42. But the ensuing kickoff sealed the game for the Unicorn as a touchdown returned by senior defensive back Joey Thomas put the game out of reach for San Marcos. The 3-game road trip concluded with a victory over San Antonio Taft as the Rattlers bounced back from last week's struggles. The 42-21 win over the Raiders elevated San Marcos to a 3-1 record with 1 more non-district game remaining. The Rattlers were averaging 36 points a game coming into the contest, and it didn't take long for the quick striking offense to get rolling. San Marcos built a quick 14-0 lead in the first quarter. Calderon broke a 72-yard run down the sideline to go up 7-0 on San Marcos' first drive. On the following drive, Calderon found senior receiver Elijah Akins on a 14-yard slant into the end zone. Taft started to show some life offensively after falling behind 2 possessions. Three plays later, the Rattlers had a quick strike of their own as Johnson went untouched down the sideline for an 80-yard touchdown. Every time the Raiders had an opportunity to build some momentum, the Rattlers defense answered the challenge and shut it down. The Raiders had 2 chances to score before the half, and on both occasions, the Rattlers defense stuffed Taft on 4th down. The defense finished the night with an impressive 4 stops deep inside their own territory, including multiple turnover on downs. San Marcos opened up the second half with the ball and a 28-14 lead. The offense didn't slow down as they put up 2 more touchdowns before the night was over. The Rattlers returned to San Marcos after its 3-game road trip to host the San Antonio McCollum Cowboys. The team put up a show for the home crowd as the offense put up 51 points, while the defense stood and held McCollum to 2 first downs and 31 total yards. The game of football has 3 phases: offense, defense, and special teams. Junior safety Scooter Brown and senior quarterback DeMarcus Hall found seams in McCollum's punt coverage and took advantage of it. All 4 punt returns resulted in Rattler drives starting in McCollum territory. The defensive unit recorded 2 turnovers en route to its 2nd shutout of the season. Offensively, the Rattlers proved too much for the Cowboy defense both in the air and on the ground. With the victory, San Marcos wrapped up its non-district slate, and upcoming is the district championship run, and it started with highly hyped Del Valley. Turnovers were something the defense had emphasized during preparations that week. San Marcos finished the game with a total of 6 takeaways, and the defense pitched a shutout in the first half and prevented the Cardinals from gaining any type of momentum. A relentless pursuit to the ball led to a handful of 3rd and 4th down stops. Multiple defensive stops and turnovers gave Calderon and the offense room to work all night. The Cardinals loaded the box early and were sending defenders off the edge, slowing the ground game Calderon and Johnson had established throughout the season. This opened up the opportunity for Calderon to find senior receivers Elijah Akins, Julian Perez, and junior receiver Myson Williams in the flats. Calderon connected with Perez for both of his touchdowns in the air en route to a season-high 37 pass attempts. San Marcos was searching for one final defensive stand while the Cardinals looked for a quick score. The Cardinal offense that had been contained all night was starting to find life late in the game. 2 plays later, Cardinals quarterback rolled to his left and found Rattlers cornerback DeMarcus Hall for his 2nd interception of the night. San Marcos improved to a 5-1 overall record, 1-0 in District 14 6A play, following a 31-15 win over Del Valley. A normally explosive San Marcos offense had been struggling to find its rhythm. San Marcos had built a 17-3 lead with 5 minutes remaining in the 3rd quarter. But despite the 14-point lead, Akins was close to making it a 1-possession game with some quick plays. Prudy handed the ball off to running back Jamon Johnson, who took 2 steps forward before pitching the ball back to his quarterback, and that's when Calderon quickly found and connected with Elijah Akins in the end zone to put the game out of reach and went on to beat Akins 36-10. The Rattlers finished the night with 311 yards and 4 touchdowns offensively. Senior linebacker Joshua Banda recorded a fumble recovery for the 2nd straight game, and the secondary contained all big plays in the air. After the bye week, the Rattlers were able to get some much-needed R&R as they prepared for the physical Maynard team. And the state of Texas showed its unpredictable and ever-so-changing weather as this Friday night had a low of 28 degrees with a very strong wind. But the weather wasn't the only battle for the Rattlers that they had to take on that night. It took only 4 plays for San Marcos to realize it was in for a fight. Manor quarterback connected with sophomore receiver Taj Brooks on a bubble screen, and he broke it down the sideline for a 74-yard touchdown. Frustration started to build as the Rattler offense had back-to-back 3-and-outs, while the Mustang offense continued to find holes in San Marcos' defense. In a 21-0 hole, the Rattlers found themselves in uncharted territory on the road inside Mustang Stadium. And for the first time, San Marcos was shut out in the first half. Now, for the fans that made the trip, they were able to witness firsthand how the second half of the season would be for the Rattlers. A never-quit mentality was born. Still, the offensive woes continued as the field goal unit was sent, and junior kick Francisco Mancheco converted his kick and got San Marcos on the board at 21-3. It wasn't until midway through the third quarter when the Rattlers made a real dent in a Manor lead. Calderon broke a run down the sideline for 62 yards. After a quarter of defensive stands, San Marcos found the end zone again with 10 minutes remaining in the game to make it 21-18. All the momentum swung in favor of San Marcos on the ensuing kickoff. The Rattlers recorded their second turnover of the night after stripping the Mustang returner and recovering inside the Manor 10-yard line. 2 plays later, Calderon found the end zone and gave San Marcos its first lead of the night. The 39-point second half was fueled by Calderon and junior running back Jamon Johnson's 318 total yards and 4 touchdowns. But the game was won by the defensive presence that produced a handful of stops and 1 turnover down the stretch. The victory not only put San Marcos at 3-0 in District 14-6A, but it secured a team playoff berth and an opportunity to win the district title. After an intense game against Manor, San Marcos took on Austin Anderson at home, and it was a scoring fest. Well, at least for the Rattlers. The opening drive consisted of 2 plays. Calderon took advantage of the soft covers to find Elijah Akins for an early lead. Following a defensive stand, the Rattlers just needed 1 play, as Calderon broke loose up the middle for 71 yards and the second of 2 touchdowns on the night. The athleticism of San Marcos' weapons were too much for a Trojan defense that was playing on its heels throughout the game. The Rattler offensive front controlled the line, enabling Calderon and Johnson to find running lanes. Johnson finished the game with 108 yards, 3 touchdowns on just 13 carries. With the ground game going, receivers Elijah Akins, Myson Williams, and Julian Perez all recorded 1 receiving touchdown before the final horn went off. While the offense put up the most points since September 25th of 2015 when the Rattlers defeated San Antonio Memorial 67-9, the Rattlers defense continued to display its tenacity. San Marcos' identity flying to the ball kept Anderson out of the end zone until the 4th quarter. A 4-game takeaway streak stretched to 5 when senior safety DeMarcus Hall recorded his 4th interception of the season. Senior running back Colin Ramos took advantage of the opportunity with 58 yards on 12 carries. San Marcos routed the Trojans 65-10, and next up was the district championship. Last season at this time, San Marcos saw itself down 55-7 against the Bowie Bulldogs, and the team remembered and vowed to make sure it wasn't a repeat. This time on the road, the Rattlers battled from a 16-3 first half deficit. San Marcos struggled offensively until Jamon Johnson found the edge behind a pair of downfield blocks. The 28-yard touchdown brought the game within 1 possession, with the Rattlers set to open the second half on offense. Bowie leading 16-10, Johnson and DeMarcus Hall were deep to return the opening kickoff of the second half. With Hall leading the way, Johnson found a seam down the left sideline and broke away for 101 yards. The touchdown not only gave San Marcos the lead, but it completely shifted momentum in favor of the Rattlers. On the ensuing kickoff, Bowie fumbled the ball and the Rattlers found themselves with the best field position they had all night. 2 plays later, Calderon found the edge and extended the lead 24-16. Mistakes continued to pile up the following drive when 4th down punt attempt went wrong for the Bulldogs. A bad snap gave Rattler defenders the opportunity to close in and make a play on the punter. San Marcos started its 2nd straight possession deep into Bowie territory, and on the following play, Calderon got outside of the defense for 8 yards out and stretched the ball past the pylon. In less than just 3 minutes, San Marcos had flipped the script and didn't look back. The defense continued to put pressure on the Bulldogs and made the necessary stops to seal the victory. The Rattlers not only got revenge from last year's defeat on Austin Bowie Bulldogs, but they also took home the District 14 6A Championship, their first district title since 2003.
Visitors, the San Marcos Rattlers on their victory here tonight.
In front of a sold-out crowd at Rattler Stadium, the Sea of Purple were ready for their new district champs to begin playoffs against Round Rock Westwood. But it started off ugly. In the first 2 quarters, there was a different feeling. San Marcos found itself in a 36-14 hole at halftime. What appeared to be impossible had become familiar this season. The Rattlers had already rallied from 21 and 13 points prior Friday nights. But behind Calderon, Johnson, and a deafening crowd of nearly 5,000 fans inside San Marcos Toyota Rattler Stadium, the Rattlers staged a comeback from 29 points. Some of San Marcos' woes carried over when Westwood opened the 3rd quarter with a pooch kick, which the Warriors recovered deep into San Marcos territory. But as they have done all season, the Rattler defense made a stand with his back against the wall. The following drive for the Rattlers, Johnson picked up a pair of blocks from his receivers and made his way down the sideline. Then frustration rose on the home sideline when the ensuing Warrior return found the end zone, making it 43-22. Down by 19, junior safety Jesus Aldana fielded the kick, but as he was getting dragged down, he pitched the ball back to Johnson, and Johnson took the kick return down the sideline all the way home and brought the game within 14. The game completely changed when San Marcos forced and recovered a fumble on Westwood's next drive. The Rattlers went on to score 3 consecutive one-play drives behind the explosiveness of Calderon and Johnson. San Marcos took its first lead of the night with 8 minutes and 47 seconds remaining in the game and never gave it back up. Calderon and Johnson finished the night with a combined record of 639 rushing yards and 9 touchdowns. Defensively, San Marcos' turnover streak continued. A late interception by Hall to seal the victory, 64-50. The Rattlers season would come to a close in the UIL 6A Division II Region II area playoffs in Panther Stadium at Prairie View A&M University. Contrary to the final score, the Rattlers were in a battle early on in the game. The first quarter was all defense as San Marcos contained everything on the edges early while Westfield clogged any running lanes up the middle. Both teams were held scoreless in the first quarter. San Marcos was unable to get anything going on offense with the quick strike ability of the Mustangs quickly putting the game out of reach. Hearts were heavy, but Soto and the coaching staff were proud of what this team had done for themselves and the community this season. The senior leadership of San Marcos proved what this program could potentially be moving towards the future. The Rattlers finished the season with a 10-2 record and a district title. beating all low predictions from the offseason by the media. The team proved to officially put the city and school of San Marcos High on the map. Each player became a pro. The community finally came in full support of the program and showing off its support of the Rattlers throughout the city. While the foundation has been built, the monument is still to come.